Welcome to Clip. Let's get into Dev Pascal lesson 1. To create a program, you go to File, New Source File. Now this is a template that normally comes up in Dev Pascal, but you can make changes if you want to create additional default programs. Case in point, just go to Options, Environment Options, Miscellaneous, and you can change the template to your default setting. If you want to see the number line for the code, just go to editor and make sure that checkbox is ticked. Alright, so I'm going to break the Dev Pascal program into two parts. So I'm just going to bring down the title. So I'm going to call this part in curly brackets your head, the program head. So that's going to be from your program, uses CRT and var. Below is going to be the body of your program. Alright, now in the head of your program you need to have a title. So this is your title of the program. Next, in cases where you need to use special functions, CRT functions, we are accessing the Pascal library for those functions by issuing the command uses. And finally, declaration of variables. So these are going to be in your program head. The body is basically where you compile and execute your lines of code. Alright, so know the syntax here, how it's been done. Okay, now I'm going to write a simple output statement. So this is the first thing that we're going to start off with. So I'm going to name my program test underscore output. And when it comes to the naming conventions, you cannot name your program as test space output. It either is going to be one word, or if you want to string them together, you use an underscore. So please remember that that is key. If you don't do that, then the program is going to give you an error message. Alright, I won't be needing var per se, but I'm going to put in a variable. No, I will be needing var. Okay, so I'm going to write a simple output statement. There are two ways we can write our output statement, and that's based on the keywords that we utilize. So let me just put this in comments. So I have output statement, and I'm going to show you the two ways. So the first one, we have write. Alright, and that's going to be hello world. The next one is going to be writeln. It's going to say you're welcome. So you can see the two options here, and I'm going to put in a re key because the re key is going to be basically our cursor. So until I enter any key on the keyboard, the program won't terminate at that time. If you don't have a re key or read line, then the program is just going to execute and then blink out. It just terminates after a while. So in order to prevent that, I'll just put in a re key here. So I'm just going to go to compile. And you can see in the ribbon right here, there's the compile project right here. The next one is run project, and then the third option is the compile and run. So I'm just going to compile first to show you. I'm going to save this as test underscore output. Okay, and it's going to, the file extension is .pas. Okay, and the code is good, so there are no errors. I'm going to execute, and as you can see, my program works. However, there's an issue. You will notice in the first line, in line 8, I used write. In the second line, I use writeln. So basically, with the writeln, it writes the specific line, while write only writes to one general's line. Okay. So to change this, I'm going to add in a writeln. So let me just close this. Alright, so I'm going to change this line 8. So I'm going to change the write to a writeln. And I'm going to change line 9 to write, so you can see the difference right away. So I'm just going to execute. Program is okay, and you can see the difference. If I wanted to add a space in between the hello world and welcome, I'll just close my program. Between lines 8 and 9, I just hit enter. I just type in a writeln, ending with a semicolon. So the semicolon is basically our termination of that particular line. It's like a full stop. And I'm going to compile and execute the program by clicking on the third icon right here. As you can see, it compiles and executes. So this is how you output certain statements to the user. Another way we can output is the use of variables. So in this case, I'm going to bring back the variable that I took out. So I'm going to have var keyword, and I'm just going to put in a simple variable. Now, a variable in this particular program requires you to have a variable name and designate a data type for it. So in this case, I'm just going to put the variable name num, and I'm going to give it a data type of integer. Semicolon to terminate. So the data type integer is basically positive and or negative whole numbers. All right, so that can be -1, 0, 23. Okay, positive or negative whole numbers. All right, now after begin, I'm going to initialize that particular variable by assigning it a number. So in this case, I'm going to assign it the number 6. Okay, and then after line 13, I'm going to, let's see, put in another writeln, and then put in writeln, open bracket, single quote, and put in number equals space, and then close it with a quote, and then comma. And this is where I'm going to put my variable. So this statement should say number equal 6. All right, so I'm going to close the bracket, semicolon, compile and execute, and there you go. In the next lesson, we're looking at variables and user input.